Matutu nambane.
That guy on the camera.
We have to start. Time is not on our side. We were a bit delayed. Can we all rise for the national anthem? National anthem.
Namibia, motherland.
Okay, before we sit, if there are any religious leaders, someone to lead us through with a prayer, we know we can do nothing without the men above. Is there anybody who will volunteer to pray for us? Okay, madam, you can come in front. Okay. Can you please come in front?
Gatukumbe matujandenge hiya mhona wetu Yesus Kristus kujowarara punetu tukumba kapitu tupenduro tietamba matujandangi ko kutalu matumunu ombulambo mau ya mhona injo kare puna yete mu biunguro bima biunguro ambi obiunguro mai kali ko horongana apolo nditona zetu muru ya bede obiunguro mai unguro anache beto beni kuchabe kare na mathokulambo kenda ko murungu mwana mekumbiro matororo wehire tungu maya kujariro makutuke na manao yara muhagaro chitandi kuchatukare atwa mwina matunguro chungura chitu mehiretu aruhe amen.
Thank you, Mama Agnes. We may please take our seats. The first thing that I'm going to do, as per the norm, is to establish the protocol for today's event. We will start by saluting the Honorable Dr. Pea Mushelenga, the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, who is joining us virtually from Harare, Zimbabwe. Honorable Minister, you are welcome. Then we salute the first resident of the region, the Honorable Marius Sikunawa Tuyoleni Shea, the Regional Governor for Kunene region. Mr. Honorable, the Regional Councillor for Ocho constituency. Honorable, you are welcome. In his absentia, allow me to salute the Chairperson of the Kunene Regional Council, Honorable Hendrik Kwabeb. Allow me to go further to salute the person whose town in which we are hosting this event, Her Worship the Mayor, Honorable Rosa Kamutwa Mbingeje Undo. Let me salute the Honorable Regional and Local Authority Councillors. I saw Honorable Kuoko here, Councillor for Epupa. I saw Honorable Muharukwa, from the mighty Opuo Rural. Let me also salute the other councillor, Honorable Kunene, in his absentia. All local authority councillors, you are welcome. Let me go further to salute the Chief Regional Officer, Mr. George Kamsep, in his absentia. All Chief Executive Officers, Commissioner James Derura, the Nampol Regional Commander in Kunene region. I can see he is represented by the Chief Inspector Reiter. I can see Senior Inspector Mutede here. You are welcome. Let me go further to salute all senior government officials. You can see Mr. Usiku, an Inspector of Education here. Regional heads of various ministries, captains of industries, traditional and community leaders, distinguished invited guests, including our two panelists that we have here, who we will mention as we go on, all virtual participants from wherever you are catching us, members of the media. Having established that protocol, a very good morning to you all. I'm greeting everyone, including all of those that are joining us online or virtually. My name is Dioki Kaatuchiwa Mbinge, the spokesperson of the Kaokolen Descendants Welfare Organization. I hereby heartily welcome you to the 22nd Dr. THEO-BEN GURIRAB lecture series, coming to you live from Opuo, Kunene region. A very special welcome is extended to those following this lecture series on our different virtual platforms, that is the MIRCO Facebook Live, NBC streaming, and other social avenues through which this is being broadcasted. The lecture series are named after the late Dr. THEO-BEN GURIRAB, the first Minister of Foreign Affairs, who happens to be the second Prime Minister of the Republic of the Namibia, and who was the second Speaker of the National Assembly, a very renowned diplomat of note. Since the launch of the Dr. THEO-BEN GURIRAB lecture series on the 31st July 2017 by the late President of the Republic of Namibia, His Excellency Dr. Hake Gottfried Geingob, may his soul rest in peace. The Ministry of International Relations and Cooperation has hosted 21 successful lecture sessions aimed at involving the public in taking an interest in shaping the policy on international relations and cooperation of the Republic of Namibia. Further, the lecture series provides an opportunity to interrogate and analyze the impact of ongoing global, social, and political dynamics or issues on the realization of national development aspirations or programs, including sustainable development, poverty eradication, climate change, migration, peace, security, among many others. This morning, the Ministry of International Relations and Cooperation brings you the 22nd Dr. THEO-BEN GURIRAB lecture series under the theme Unlocking Economic Potential, Harnessing Tourist Attraction and Mining Resources to Drive Development and Economic Growth in Kunene region. Can we clap some hands to open officially? Thank you. Thank you so much. At this particular juncture, allow me to introduce to you the panelists that will be helping us tackle the theme that we have at hand. The first panelist, we have Honorable Dr. Peya Mushelenga, the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, joining us virtually from Zimbabwe, Harare. Doctor, welcome.
A very good morning to you all.
All right. The second panelist we have here, he's not virtual, he's here with us. A man with deep feet in Kunene. In Ojerero, when we say someone has deep feet, it means somebody that has walked and worked extensively. Walked and worked extensively in this region. He needs no introduction. Mr. John Kasaona, the Executive Director of the Integrated Rural Development and Nature Conservation, Okayao, as we belovedly refer to it in Kunene region. Mr. John, you are very welcome.
Thank you, sir.
The third panelist we have is Mr. Stanley Kambode, the Executive Director of Kambode Mineral Resources, a company that has been in Kunene region for some time now. We should all know it. Mr. Kambode, you are welcome to this session today. Okay. Our audience, as well as members of the public tuned in live through the NBC YouTube page, the MIRCO Facebook page, welcome, and please feel free when the time arises for your questions, please feel free to ask questions. The minister is here, the panelists are here, we have senior government officials in our midst. I'm sure we would be able to have all answers to our questions today. I'm very confident on that one. All right, now, allow me to invite the minister to give us his opening remarks on the theme that we have at hand. Honorable Minister, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Director of Proceedings, the representative of the Governor, regional council, regional and local authority councillors present, and all viewers that are viewing online, as well as the audience that is attending the lecture in Opuo. I greet you from Harare, Zimbabwe, where I'm attending the SADC Extraordinary Summit. So I regret being unable to be with you physically, but I'm grateful that technology has provided us an opportunity to engage at this very important occasion. At the outset, I would like to express our gratitude to the regional leadership of the Kunene region, and indeed the leadership of the Opuo town for affording us an opportunity to host the 22nd THEO-BEN GURIRAB lecture series in this town of Opuo. Let me also take this opportunity to extend my heartfelt appreciation to panelists with whom I'm sharing the platform this morning, and also to all participants, both physical and virtual, for making time from your busy schedules to join us for this 22nd THEO-BEN GURIRAB lecture series. Director of Proceedings, Kunene region is among the centers that hold our nation's economic future in good stead. The region boasts majestic landscapes, vibrant cultures, and rich natural resources. Given its geological formations, the region is endowed with natural resources and offers mineral exploration opportunities. These will be realized to the full potential when there are road and communication infrastructure put in place. In the light of the foregoing, it is indeed a great idea to bring the THEO-BEN GURIRAB lecture series to this region under the theme, Unlocking Economic Potential, Harnessing Tourist Attraction, and Mining Resources to Drive Infrastructure Development and Economic Growth in Kunene region. The theme is timely and it speaks to the exciting prospects in Kunene's present and future. By now, you'll be aware that the Ministry of International Relations and Cooperation's flagship event, the THEO-BEN GURIRAB lecture series, is named after THEO-BEN GURIRAB, a great statesman and a consummate diplomat who was my mentor. I therefore honor to engage you on this platform, which affords us an opportunity to celebrate his legacy. Director of Proceedings, ladies and gentlemen, with its strategic location along Namibia's northwestern border and its incredible access to both land and maritime resources along the Atlantic coast, Kunene region is poised to be a pivotal economic engine, fostering prosperity and improved livelihood for its residents and indeed the nation at large. The region's potential aligns closely with Vision 2030 and the country's national development plans, which prioritize infrastructure development, economic diversification, and sustainable resource management in our noble quest to industrialize. At the same time, Kunene's developmental aspirations align with SADC's Regional Indicative Strategy Development Plan, RISDP 2020-2030, which seeks to strengthen infrastructure, economic integration, and the sustainable use of resources in Southern Africa. At a continental level, these efforts equally speak to the African Union's Agenda 2063, which calls for Africa's inclusive and sustainable growth, sustainable development, and economic diversification. Academic literature like the publication by Kunene and others titled Physical Infrastructure and Economic Growth attests to a link between infrastructure development and economic growth in developing countries, particularly in respect of road, energy, and communication infrastructure. The expanded roads and transport networks in this region will link our country to neighboring provinces in Angola and make the region more accessible to investors and tourists alike. Director of Proceedings, ladies and gentlemen, to address the first of the two sectors highlighted in today's lecture, that being tourism, the region's potential remains significantly untapped. Having already identified the unique combination of unmatched natural beauty, cultural heritage, and wildlife offerings, I propose a dedicated approach to infrastructure development and regional branding to take advantage of low-hanging fruits. I encourage you to think broadly and adopt a global mindset as leaders, administrators, business people, and residents of this region. Consider the development of targeted marketing campaigns that showcase Kunene as a destination for adventure and ecotourism. Seek out and engage international travel platforms to elevate this great region's visibility. Moreover, enhance your cooperation with our neighbor to the north and increase your efforts with Angolan tour operators to create cross-border tourism packages in line with SADC's Transfrontier Conservation Area initiative. This sort of initiative has the potential to attract international visitors interested in multi-country experiences in Southern Africa. The AU Agenda 2063 goals is to have world-class interactive infrastructure that crisscross the continent and for Africa to be the preferred destination for tourism. In this respect, we look forward to seeing the establishment of more ecotourism lodges focused on sustainable business and conservation, as well as adventure tourism. As far as our rich cultural heritage is concerned, this should be harnessed to initiatives such as annual International Cultural Festival, which would hold international appeal. Now to our second sector of the day, the mining resources. A research titled Mining on Communal Land as a New Frontier, a case study of the Kunene region, described Kunene region as the Copper Belt region. This region has various mineral deposits like daphtase and cerussite, caprite, malachite, chatukite, and wolfenite specimens. Further, there are associated minerals like bismuth-rich, montramite, barite, and bismuthite. Further, a study commissioned by the Institute for Defense Analysis titled Rare Earth Elements in Namibia and South Africa Considerations for U.S. Investment reveals that Kunene is among 4 regions in Namibia with rare earth-bearing minerals. There are both large-scale and small-scale mining activities in Kunene region. Let me start with small-scale mining. I propose stepping up efforts to formalize small-scale mining by providing training, licenses, as well as equipment to miners so as to increase their productivity, safety, and income. Ultimately, the goal is to give them access to broader markets. A link to this is the establishment of small-scale mineral processing facilities within the region, which would create jobs, particularly to the youth, by adding value locally. This is in tandem with the SADC mining vision, which highlights the need for inclusive, community-centered mining approach, as well as the AU's African mining vision, which advocates for beneficiation as a pathway to greater economic value from Africa's minerals. With regard to infrastructure for resource extraction and export, it goes without saying that investments in infrastructure, such as roads and transport networks, will make it easier to transport mined resources to port for export. This includes completing road links from key mining areas and development of the Angra Freya Harbour in due course. Director of Proceedings, ladies and gentlemen, in the digital age which we find ourselves, it would be remiss of me not to talk about communications and digital infrastructure in a discussion as important as this one. As the former Minister of Information and Communication Technology, I have a special appreciation for the benefits to be derived from improved internet and digital connectivity by both the tourism and mining sectors. These benefits, in a practical sense, look like remote lodge and tourist operators being able to better connect with their customer and service providers all over the world, while mining firms can benefit from real-time data and logistics management. Enhancing Kunene's digital infrastructure supports both national and African priorities and goals for digital transformation, including the SADC industrialization strategy and roadmap. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I should say it must be reiterated that the Kunene region has achieved much through dedicated leadership and local initiatives, such as the Youth Development Strategy and the Informal Settlement Upgrade Initiative. These programs already provide essential social and economic support. However, there is yet room to expand them to ensure inclusive growth. MIRCO pledged its resources within its mandate to support efforts to develop targeted programs to build skills among the youth in mining, tourism, and entrepreneurship, equipping them to seize the opportunities that existing and the new projects discussed today bring. This aligns with the AU's Africa Decade for Technical, Professional, Entrepreneurial Training and Youth Employment 2019 to 2028, which emphasizes creating economic opportunities for African youth. Furthermore, I encourage you to build on the progress collectively made in developing Kunene region thus far and invite local and international investors to participate in the region's growth, focusing on sustainable development that respects both the environment and communities. By unlocking Kunene's economic potential through tourism and mining, we shall build an economically vibrant region that stands as a model for sustainable realization of opportunity in Namibia and beyond. I thank you.
Thank you so much. Can we clap hands for the minister? Thank you, Minister, for that comprehensive introductory remarks. As protocol dictates, can we allow the representative of the Office of the Governor, the Honorable Antino, to come and give us introductory and welcoming remarks all in one. Honorable, can we clap hands for the Honorable as he's coming?
Thank you very much, Director of the Proceedings. I should acknowledge the presence of our Minister for International Relations and Cooperation, Honorable Pea Mushelenga. Equally, I acknowledge my colleagues, the fellow political office bearers in our midst. As it was indicated, Honorable Koko of Epupa, Honorable Muharukwa of Opo Rural, Honorable Derura, our local town council, and then our mayor for Kamanyap in our midst, and then, of course, our panelists, our viewers who are following us from other platforms, as well as everyone in your different capacities and portfolios. Sometimes I will always be careful to try to accommodate everyone one by one, because you end up leaving some, and then they will remember that maybe we should have to bring back our late president who said no one should feel left out. With that said, ordinarily when your boss speaks, then you either keep quiet or you talk less. And they are saying sometimes you get the main, you get the main cause before the starter. So what our Honorable Minister said, he said it all. And then if I have to say much, I will end up repeating what he have already said. And it might not occur well with most of us that I have to dilute his speech. But for the interest of time, allow me to go straight to my task, which is basically to welcome everyone in your different capacities and portfolio to Kunene region. But I should have to indicate that we have people that are immensely, consistently contributed for us to attain our independence. They have sacrificed their youthful life. They have took risk when it was not popular to do so, whereby people lost their life because they were trying to do the right thing. Some of them have departed to eternity. Some of them are still with us. And even after we attain our independence, they continue with the same spirit of investing their time, availing themselves, sharing their knowledge and skills with us for us to be where we are today. And the person that we are seeing on the flyer over there is one of them. Unfortunately, he is not with us, but his contribution, what he have done for this country, it will remain to benefit us, for us who are here today, and also for the generations to come. It is because of him and others that our country, that us, we are here where we are today. And they live a life that is well lived. Their life is worth celebrated. And we might not do what they have done, but what they have done, it's inspiring us to be patriotic to our country, so that it's not what we are doing, what our country can do to us, but it's what we are doing for our country. Allow me once again to stick to what I have earlier said, that my boss have spoken. I should just perhaps say, I wish you a fruitful deliberation, and then for those who got opportunity to be here, the way I know a genuine generosity of people of Kunene, they will not keep what they have learned in their own pocket or to themselves. They always have a culture of sharing with others who are not here, so that it will look like those who are not here, they were part of this particular event. Ngahi no mutu ochero chanje meko njithambo kare marapothia ochingura chanje kashideu marapothia oshina hepero okuyakura ovandu po vitopeke inetwa po kuja oune marapothia meshwa kuja tuno ovanane ovira opolotika tuno do kansela detu ovihuro po urukondo wa matororero tuno vanane vetu ombadhu shambo noho tuna ovanane kudhako dhombero peke okuja mesha uri kuja mwaya kurwa shinene nu ombongarero oyenu ovaenda vyo kutuvatera uri kusha vetwale kusha ovinairi vinuma ngruavi marapothio ombongarero yetu ngatupura tene shambo noho tukapuro mapuliro kucha kitatu yaruka kodonganda shanje tuno kambo po unongo matuka kokutwara ko mitanda po ko vandu aro vararanga na vetu po ko vandu vetu mo virongo vyetu. With that, allow me just once again to say I wish you a fruitful deliberation, and I believe that we are going back fully equipped with ammunition in forms of knowledge and information that we did not know, or perhaps that will make a positive change in our own life and that of the people around us. With that, once again, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much. I think you will excuse us a bit, like the Honorable just did. We need a bit of translation. Being in the region where we are, we need to just provide a brief summary on what has been said in the language that many of the people understand. So you will excuse us there a bit, colleagues, so that we just translate for some of the elders that we have here. Yeah. Ambara uliri ovinoingi mutu Honorable wa atako katiti obinambitwa ungurana yuri mo programa yetu twa yakura wando jamo vito peke peke vata munu amba Honorable we kuta muna na wamo jiherero mba atuyanjoruvede ko minister etu itupe ehungiro mapatululiro eye makatara ko vina peke wina makaarisa kokuja okunene itumweto tukondwa tutwatumba modhombulo dhehi no vida mehimbio vina vihembio ya ovina mbio ojivihepa omaunguliro wakumwe ovimbumba peke ovito peke ukambulathana make kujo vida mehimbi viene nokuyeta ombwiro ko jiwanachi ya okuja inde puretu ulili okuyanjambo okutoroka nde puretu ndima tukoroko handino nditwaithanitho valume ndumbali no viungula vyao ulimba mbeya okongo okuyeneno matu yokuhungira mojiherero jipupu ulili ambaraja tujo okongo okupatululo mivero vyainjongorongova amaungulitha ovithemehi no viune vyovalyange kuja viene nokutunga olukondo lwa kunene nokuyeta omayarulukiro ongorongova molukondo ya okuja epundo ambara mojiherero janjo jiviulili ambara mude pundima tukorokoholondo ya okuja neyo ruvede mekanjo ruvede ko kuimbo ova nduma yetu vatero kukorokoha twajo mutengwa njona kathaona mba omunane okayao ina twajo mutengwa kambonde unano kambaniye njauto muniyo njino jina no dhombulo dhomehi pokujo merake vyaja tujo mine ulili ya omunane andave hemba madu ave valimba madu vatero kukorokoho jinahi mekeve poruvede. So to come back to the official language, I will now give a floor to our second panelist, Mr. John Kathaona, the Executive Director of IDRNC, to give us his introductory remarks on the theme that we have at hand. Mr. John.
Thank you very much. And can you hear me? Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, and a very warm welcome. Good morning to all the participants. Let me stand by the protocol as established, because if I start identifying people, salutation of each and every participant here, I might miss people, and that will not reflect very well on my side. So, looking at the theme of this very lecture, unlocking economic potentials, harnessing tourism attractions, and mining resources to drive infrastructure development and economic growth in Kunene. I think we all know that Kunene, if you really look at the map of Namibia, Kunene is the second largest region in the country, second to Kara's regions. Kunene is also one of the regions where was a big number of community-based related conservation initiative. Kunene is also known to be the area that have got completely different environmental setups that make it a key and attractive destination to any international, be it local or international traveler. So we are talking of a region that is basically not completely untapped, and we really need to open up more opportunities to create wealth, to create employment, for people to see the real impact of being the Kunenian. I don't know, if you are living in Kunene, you are Kunenian, isn't it? So the region is sitting with vast potential to drive infrastructure development and economic growth by harnessing its tourism and mining resources. So we all know that Kunene is a home to diverse cultural and natural resources is here. You talk about tourism. If you don't talk about Kunene, I think then you are not from this country. So I'm just saying that I wanted to say that we are really fortunate as Kunenian that we really need to capitalize on what we have, make Kunene visible, and ask, I don't know how many minutes have you given me, Master Moderator, and where we are positioned. In the east, we are bordering with the Etosha National Parks, which make it even more special. Etosha is Africa's largest salt park, salt pen, that attracts thousands of tourists. And if thousands of tourists are penetrating into Etosha, obviously the overflow will end up in Kunene. In the west, we are having the Skeleton Coast Park. I think we all know that the Skeleton Coast Park is UNESCO World Heritage listed site. It makes it even more appealing to the international travelers. And this is a very rugged coastline, shipwrecks, and a lot of wildlife that are also surviving on those dune environment. Seals, desert elephants, desert lions, and also the coastal area is a prime site for ecotourism, offering opportunity for luxury safaris, and also fishing and shipwreck tours. So we have a gem there right west from where we are that we haven't been able to tap into as well. So we really need to, and I would really like to appeal to our honorable councillor that are sitting here, that the opportunity is right there at our doorsteps, but that we really need to start shifting our resources toward that directions. Kunene also, we have the Himba, a unique indigenous cultural groups. Their unique culture, customs, and clothings is an attraction to many international visitors. And all we are saying is that many people are eager and they still want to come and learn the way how the Himba community has survived. Responsible cultural tourism, that's all we are looking for. That can help preserve our Himba culture while it provides economic benefit to these communities. Tamaraland, as it's known, it's also known for its also rugged terrain, desert environment, desert wildlife, elephants, desert lions, and also known for the engravings. You got in Bushman engravings, you got all those natural plants, petrified forests. These are the attractions that we have in our region. The area also have a rich Tamara culture and also natural heritage that can support ecotourism and adventure tourism. So, and we also have in Kunene community conserved area, which is conservancies. Another spectrum of another added value that we have in these regions that again offer a different unique setup. Imagine if you are sitting in Seattle in the United States and you are hearing of a communities that have taken upon themselves to live side by side with most of the dangerous animals, elephant, binge, lions, and all these things, while other nations opted not to do that. This is also a unique selling point. But we also don't want our people to suffer at the hand of this wildlife. We as a region need to turn wildlife in a meaningful and practical economic assets so that it can start putting food on each and every Kunenian's tables. This is the future that we are really looking at. So I think, can I go on? Okay. So for me also, Kunene, if you talk of Kunene, you cannot talk in isolation of mentioning Kunene River. It provides a water source for the inhabitants, and it's also a good tourism site where you can do a lot of different activities. You can do bird watchings, you can do rafting. Why not? Why can't we do rafting? People are doing rafting in other river, Fish River Canyon, and not Fish River Canyon, Orange River, in other rivers, Victoria Falls. People are doing rafting. These are income streams that bring income and create job for the communities. We really need to look at some of these things. So, for all these things to happen, we really need to have a good tourism development strategies. So ecotourism and sustainable tourism, this is the way to go. As I said, Kunene is a very fragile. Almost the whole part of Kunene is a desert environment. So the sensitivity around the environment is enormous. So what we can do at the moment is the promotion of ecotourism in the region. The promotion of ecotourism, this is what we really need to do to ensure that we are not going to taint or damage the environment that we have. The other component also that we can do in Kunene is community-based tourism. Partnering with local communities, including Himbas and other indigenous communities, to develop cultural, sensitive tourism experience that can generate income and wealth to the citizen of Kunene. So it can create jobs, and also, while you are doing that, we are preserving our cultural heritage. But to have all these things, first thing first, some of the things must be in place. Development of infrastructures, expanding road network, airports, and communication systems. If we have these things in place, it will add value to what I just said. Because there's no point we have all these beautiful sites, but they are not accessible. There's no point that we have all these sites. If a tourist has got lost, no one is able to find them. So we really need to create infrastructure between attractions that I just mentioned. Imagine from here to Epupa. During this rainy season, no one can go to Epupa, but this is the time that some people want to go to Epupa because of the river flowing. There's no proper road network. You get stuck, your family get killed in the river. So these are the things that are really needed if we really want to improve our economy and change the livelihood of the people in the ground. Marketing and branding. Often we take it for granted that tourists must come because we have known to be known as Himba, Damara, Swambo speaking, and everybody wants to come and look at us. No. We need to start strengthening marketing campaign, both locally, here at home, and otherwise internationally. That can be done by attending many things. Trade fairs, international trading in Durban, where tourism, a lot of global tour operators are coming together to really showcase and market different experiences that they have in different parts of the countries. So that is conservations. From the conservation point of view, we can do a lot. But all we need, really, Honorable Minister, is the capital injections. Capital injections and a careful planning. Rome was not built in one day, but if we do a proper scoping and start where we can most generate much needed income, we can at least help our community people out of poverty. We also I'm also thinking that Kunene, I don't want to talk about mining. I had to think about mining here, but my colleague Kambonde will touch on mining, is that what I want to see, we were just chatting, what I want to see is that mining and tourism and conservation must be compatible to each other, must be able to talk to each other, because these are all economic hubs. These are all economic drivers that will take the nation forward. But if there are incompeting laws that are not compatible, in harmony to each other, where are we going? So a call, I think, through our minister is now that a call for a policy harmonization of tourism and wildlife and mining, because I would think both, if it was not for mining, I'm not against mining. If it was not for mining, I would not have, I don't have a watch name, but I would not have this phone. You see? But it was also not for nature. I would not have had a fresh air to breathe. Kambonde. You see? So we really need to find a way. Where can the two come together so that not one can overly precede the other one? So again, we are also rich in mineral resources. This is not my area of specialty. You are also heard from the Honorable Pair that what I know is that the rare earth elements is found here in Kunene. This is a very unique selling point. And rare earth elements can be used for the production of high-tech devices. Imagine if smartphone can be developed here in Kunene, because the mineral that develops high-tech devices is here. Why don't we capitalize on that one? Smartphone, electric vehicles, and renewable energy technologies that can also be realized by these rare earth elements that we have right at our doorstep here. So I will start concluding, but what I also want to say that while we are having all these sectors that got so carefully planned, the intention of the Almighty was to create all these sectors, but they must be compatible to each other. It's us human beings that are making them incompatible, that are now conflicting. So, and also given the sensitivity of the environment, Kunene, especially around Skeleton Coast, Conservancy Core Wildlife Area, I know Stanley was saying start with Conservancy Core Wildlife Area again. Mining activity must follow the best practices in environmental management. So, which include minimizing pollutions, safeguarding biodiversity conservations, and rehabilitating minings and mining post-extractions. So after the mining operation have ceased to exist, we really want that area to be returned to its original states, where it was before the mining activities happened. And we also want to see how can we synergize mining and tourism. Mining and tourism can be synergized through cross-border sector infrastructure investments. That is now, when you take money from mining, you build roads. Basically, you are paving the way for tourism to progress. Revenue sharing, if mining can also, if mining revenue, mining impact can be seen to make difference on the ground. Not just with the people that are working there, it will also help with income growth in those communities. Equally with tourism also. Tourism taxes and levies could also be used to improve the region infrastructures, because we are not using it. Why don't we have an entry point for the regions? You enter Kunene from Uchu. Everybody that enter Kunene from Uchu will say, wow, does this really exist? Am I dreaming? is it like in a movie, those type of things? Why can't we generate income from those that enter our region and basically do us not a good thing at all? Public-private partnerships. Also, what I think also need to be invested. Collaboration between government, private sectors, and local community can help ensure that both mining and tourism development are sustainable. Diversifying the economies. That can also be done, I think, if we do it properly with our colleague from the mining company. So, in short, this is what I actually wanted to before you come with specific question, to share with the audience that I think the wealth is right at our doorstep. It's now ready, the onus is ready onto us. How can we turn those assets in meaningful economic assets that can touch and start benefiting the local community? We are not poor. We are making ourselves poor. Thank you very much.
Mr. Kambode, the floor is yours to make an opening statement on the theme that we have at hand.
Can you hear me now? Good morning. I just would like to adhere to all protocol observed and to say that it's a great honor to have been invited to such a panel discussion on key topics to a region which is very, very close to my heart, as well as sharing the stage with our very competent panelists, including our Honorable Minister of International Relations and Cooperation. It's very difficult to put perhaps observations I've made in 10 years into 10 minutes or so I'll try my best. When we look at mining in Namibia, we, as the Honorable Minister said, and as my fellow panelist, Mr. John said, we hear statements, and there are statements of Namibia is blessed in natural resources, Namibia is blessed in mineral resources. But for you to know exactly what you have, you need to get it out of the ground. So since independence, there have been very minimal operations that we can call mining operations, which is projects that are built and actually getting the mineral out of the ground and moving it along the value chain. Now, specifically coming back to our theme in terms of Kunene region, I think I should pause here just to state that Kunene region is a very vast region, so it's best that we divide it into two. Kunene North, which is Kaoko land, and Kunene South, which is the area south of probably Kamanyab and Korihas. And this is very important because when you look at the ethnicity component of Kaoko land, which is predominantly the Herero Himba groups, and the ethnicity component of, composition of Kunene South, which is predominantly the Damara Nama groups, it's very important to keep in mind that, those traditional norms tie into whether a project, especially a mining project, will become successful or not. Whether a mining project, will stand the test of time, because very ancestral, factors play into such decisions. Now, the second part is that dividing it in north and south is very important in understanding the geological composition of minerals in Kunene. So when you look at the southern part, it's predominantly rich in copper resources, especially the area of Korihas, Palamville there. And when you look at Kunene North, which is Kaukoland, that is where you find a much more diverse set of mineral compositions. So from a mining perspective, we have various mineral groups. So those are groups that are put in to sort of give an indication of what minerals fall under those groups. So the first mineral group is usually semi-precious stone. That is the group where you find your, like the Honorable Minister had indicated, your shakutite, your malachite, your dioptites, and if you are maybe going to, and this is just for context of other minerals like tourmaline and aquamarine, right? So when you're driving to Walvis Bay, you'll see those people selling, the small-scale miners. Yeah, that's usually what you call semi-precious stone. But more importantly, in Kunene region, there are two very specific semi-precious stones which are key to this area. The first one is a mineral called blue sodalite. Now, I just want to pause here and indicate that blue sodalite in the whole of Namibia, it's only found in Kunene region, in the area of Swarboys Drift at Orutumba village. And you have again orange garnet, which is Mandarin orange garnet, which is found at the area of Marian's Floss. You have beryl. Beryl, I'll put it in another mineral group. So these are very specific to Kunene region. Then the next mineral group is what we call base and rare metals. So base and rare metals is where you put in your copper, your lead, your iron, ore, and all of those. Those are in base and rare metals. And from there you move on to dimension stone, which is your marble and blue sodalite as well if you cut it into blocks. And from there on you move on to your precious metals, which is gold and silver. And interestingly enough, the copper in Kunene has byproducts of gold and silver in it. And then the fifth one is precious stones, which is what you call diamonds. As you know, at the mouth of the Kunene, there is the diamond mine owned by Trasco. And the sixth one is nuclear fuels. That is the category where you put uranium. Now, the reason I'm describing them like that is that in order for you to get a mineral out of the ground, you first need a mineral license, a license for you to start extracting. And it's at this point that I need to give the difference between exploration and mining, right? So exploration is basically just the activity of coming on the ground, and then you are given a particular license for you to start exploring and trying to find out whether there's something there. So usually this is done when you've been given an exclusive prospecting license, which is an EPL, right? So an EPL, like the name suggests, is an exclusive prospecting license for you to be able to explore. It doesn't give you the license to mine, right? So that's a very key distinction, because with EPLs, in as much as they are very large in size, just at application stage, it's very difficult to meet the requirements, the technical and financial requirements, right? So once you then submit, so once it's granted, you can then only explore. So in order for you to start mining, physically getting the minerals out of the ground from an EPL, you need to apply for what we call a mining license. So a mining license is basically, after you've explored, you take that exploration data to Ministry of Mines and Energy. You say, okay, out of this whole conference hall, the only place that you've given me the whole conference hall, but the only place that we found copper is this stage, right? So this is the area where you apply for a mining license. So once you get the mining license, that is when you can start mining, getting the product out. The other licensing regime or mineral right that can be issued is the one which is very common to us here in Kunene and around Namibia. It's called mining claims, right? So a mining claim is, number one, it can only be applied for and be granted to Namibian citizens or Namibian companies. Number two, it's limited in size to 18 hectares. So one mining claim is 18 hectares, which is the size of 18 soccer fields. But an applicant can apply for as much as 10 mining claims under what we call a non-exclusive prospecting license. So, but the unique part is that when it comes to a mining claim, you can explore and you can mine at the same time. So when you go back to an EPL, you can only explore and only start mining if you get the product out of the ground. If it comes to a mining claim, you can explore while also physically mining, right, the product out of the ground. So when we are now coming to saying what Namibia has, the question is, how do you get it out of the ground? So since you can only get it out of the ground with those 2 licenses, it means that it's going to take longer for you to get it out from an EPL perspective than it would be for you to get it out on a mining claim perspective, right? So that is very important because if I can narrow down the resources which are here in Kunene, which should not be ignored. If you were to call Ministry of Mines right now, I think it should be the first floor, you talk to the chief economist for base and rare metals, and you just ask them one question: how many producing copper mines are in Namibia? And when I say producing, I mean how many copper mines are actually taking out the product? Mining, not exploring, mining. You will only be given 4. The first one is Combat Mine, in Combat. They do what we call copper concentrate. So copper concentrate is value added. So you get the ore out of the ground and then you crush it, right? That is copper concentrate. So that is what you take maybe to a smelter like Sino Mine in Tsumeb. The second one is Chudi Mine. So Chudi Mine, they do copper cathode. So copper cathode is far advanced along the value chain because it's 99.99% copper, meaning that it's those sheets of copper you see loaded on trucks as you are driving to Walvis Bay, the ones that come from Zambia. So Chudi Mine does that. So I told you 4, hey? So those are the 2 that side. The remaining 2 are actually projects here in Kunene. The first one is Kunene Crush Stone. That is a project I also had the interest in, and I was part and partial to be part of it, having built it from the ground up since 2015 to until recently. And that project has used mining claims as a model. The second one is the project here at Otwani, owned by Kaukolen Mining, the crusher which is here at Otwani. The model again, because you need to feed the plant, you need to feed the processing plant, that copper is coming from mining claims and not from EPLs. Why I'm making this distinction is that the mining sector or the mining industry has 2 approaches. The first approach is exploration-based. The second approach is production-based. Exploration means that you want to come in and you probably want to do what was achieved by Osino Gold, right? You come in, you pump in a lot of money, maybe they pumped in 1 billion, right? They defined where the gold is, and then they sold it to a company, which is now just coming to set up the production plant. The same team did the same thing for B2 Gold, right? So those are exploration-oriented companies. On the other hand, you have companies such as us, which is production-oriented. So if my business model is to move the product along the value chain, it means I'm looking at the license, the mineral right that gives me the opportunity to get the product out. So that is why I'll compare, okay, do I go the EPL route or the mining claim route? I'll go the mining claim route. Unfortunately, in Namibia, we are sitting with an act which was drafted in 1992. So that act means that the definition of what a mining claim was intended to be at the time, the mining sector has evolved beyond the Mining Act, right? So the very mention of the word mining claim in Namibia automatically just takes you to a small-scale miner with a chisel and a hammer, which should not be the case, right? A mining claim should be seen as a standalone mineral right that allows you to extract and should not be confined to small-scale mining. Because when you look at the activities of, especially of copper in Namibia, and I'm talking about the whole of Namibia, most of the copper, the physical movement of copper, that is coming out of Kunene region. And unfortunately, because of the disparity which is given between a mining claim and an EPL, a lot of our people either have mining claims or they have Ovitoto, but they are finding it difficult to get their mining claims registered, because when you go to Ministry of Mines and Energy, you are being told, no, get consent from this person who has an EPL. That person is maybe sitting somewhere. You can't find the details, and then they'll tell you can't do anything, right? So what that has done is companies which come here, they will come and they will go to a village where people are not too familiar with the rules or the laws, and they've just been mining for centuries. It was his father and his grandfather that were mining there, and they are selling their ore to national companies who are coming in, who want to buy the ore. So they buy it on the ground and for amounts which are not market related, and they will take that ore, maybe about 100 tons, but when they are exporting it out of this country, they are going to use maybe a mining claim, which is fully registered of, let me say, John, and it will indicate that that product came from John's mining claim, but the product was actually sourced from small-scale miners around Kunene. So from my observation, from a mining perspective, I think we need to overlook the whole industry, because if we are talking about beneficiation, if we are talking about value addition, that can only be done if you have the product, right? Now, even before you get the product, you need a mineral right. And before that mineral right is issued to you by Ministry of Mines and Energy, you need to adhere to various processes. And those processes are inclusive of extensive stakeholder identification and stakeholder engagement, meaning that before an EPL or a mining claim is issued to you, Ministry of Mines will give you two conditions. The first one is they will see, okay, this falls within a Hero Vipuka Conservancy, right? And they will tell you, it will fall maybe within a communal land, and they will tell you this falls within a communal land. You need to get a consent letter from the Vita Tom Royal House or the Kapika Royal House. That is the first condition. The second condition is that you need to get an environmental clearance certificate. Now, when we go back to the mineral groups I showed you, the first mineral group of semi-precious stones, you don't need to do an environmental impact assessment. You simply fill in an environmental questionnaire, right? But for the other mineral groups, you need to do an environmental impact assessment for you to get the environmental clearance certificate. Now, for those mineral groups, when you're applying for them, the process of an environmental impact assessment, you need to consult with the conservancies, right? Because Kunene in its entirety has about 38 conservancies. I'm speaking under correction, right? Has 38 conservancies. But the issue comes here. Ministry of Mines as a line ministry with a mandate of, overseeing all environmental related issues, they have that mandate of environmental, of taking care of the environmental issues. So you are getting what we call a preparedness to grant, to say, Ministry of Mines wants to give me this EPL, or they want to give me this mining claim, but they are saying I need to go to Ministry of Environment, and they're also saying I need to come to the traditional authority. So I go to Ministry of Environment, and most of the time Ministry of Environment would have certain areas which are cordoned off, which are environmentally sensitive, but arriving to that conclusion, most of the time they have not consulted, or there was no streamlining of proper consultation with the conservancies as well, right? So it's very difficult now for you to, so they will tell you, no, it's environmentally sensitive area, but before you applied, or when you applied, you had a consent letter from the conservancy. So that's the first part. That is the biggest issue that we currently have. The second one is that when you are looking for consent from the traditional authorities. The sheer size of Kunene region in terms of the traditional authorities, the ones that are gazetted, and also the ones and the various communities and the various headmen and the various villages, it is so intertwined that you won't be able to pinpoint who has jurisdiction over the area where you're applying, right? So I think from that perspective, there needs to be a streamlined discussion with, so that there can be sort of a database indicating that these are the various traditional authorities, so that it's easier for you to consult and it's easier for you to get the required permission beforehand. So in a nutshell, if we are to achieve, let me say, if we are to really unlock the true potential of mining in Namibia, there is a need of building a value chain. That value chain, number one, to allow the product to move from one end to another, and also to allow various stakeholders along that value chain to be able to position themselves. Because other than that, we can have policies indicating that, no, we are going to set up a processing plant for copper, but you won't know how to feed it because you can't get it out. So it's a whole, industry overhaul of looking at licensing from a policy perspective, looking at community engagement and conservancies, and as well understanding the demographics where you are working. So I think that would be enough for now as an introductory note. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kambode, for those opening remarks on the theme. I think if you can, I've listened to the Honorable Minister as the first panelist. I listened to Mr. John. I also listened to Mr. Kambode. I think the point they are all driving home is that Kunene is rich in whatever sense, whether it be mining, conservation. So Kunene is definitely rich in all these things that you mentioned. I think all three panelists agree. So that now leads us to the discussion. The first question will now go to the Minister. Honorable Minister, if he is with us, how is government ensuring that, for example, we've mentioned how rich Kunene is. How is government ensuring that the communities benefit from this wealth of either be it in tourism, be it mining resources, conservation, all these things? How is government positioning itself to just make sure everyone benefits from this?
Thank you very much. I am not the Minister of Mines and Energy, but my belief is that there is a need to review the Mining Act of 1992, which of course has been changed or has undergone a few amendments. I believe the last one is the Amendment Act of 2008. The idea is that you should make provision for some local content when you are granting licenses for some small-scale mining activities in order to encourage local participation of the locals. But also, I should draw your attention, in Namibia, we do not talk about resources for people of a particular area. We talk about resources for Namibians. You should know that if we are to legislate to ensure that there is local participation, it will be local participation of Namibians, not Namibians from particular area. Otherwise, you are going to leave out Namibians from areas, for example, where there are no mineral activities. Then from there, everyone would say, then if it is agricultural activity, it should only be about people of my area. If it is mining activity, it should be only about people of my area. If it is fishing activity, it should only be about people of my area. We must talk about benefiting Namibians. Then when you talk about benefiting Namibians, then of course, it will now benefit people of a particular local community. It has something to do with legislation and policy framework. When legislation is in place to ensure local participation and to encourage joint ventures, even at the level of large-scale mining, then you would be guaranteed to have a local participation of the people. Now, in the tourism sector, as you know, we live in a free market economy, we have tour operators and so forth. It's again a question of how do you, for example, encourage community conservancies to also, for example, have tour operators that are linked to those conservancies that benefits the conservancies, who will then be granted the necessary tour operating licenses by the ministry. In that way, you don't only empower people in terms of having conservancies, but also to ensure that they will have tour operators that will direct tourists to come to those conservancies.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for that insight. As we proceed, Mr. Kambode, as you have mentioned, our mining is being run or is being controlled by the Act of 1992, I mean. How do you as private sector, you are of course mining privately, and then we have the public sector. How do you think you can support the government in terms of policy making, in terms of reviewing these acts and all these things? How can you as private sector support government in efforts to review policies and all these acts to ensure that we are running on updated acts and policies?
Thank you so much. When I mentioned the act, right, it's just to give an indication of what is the current situation on the ground and what we are relying on. Now, as the Honorable Minister rightfully indicated, there is a current Amendment Act which is being, a bill which is, is now through consultation, and various amendments are being made in there to try and align the current situation of mining on the ground with that from a policy perspective, right? But when in terms of providing input, I think as a private sector, it needs to go beyond us because, as I rightfully mentioned, those engagements need to go beyond only, when you're talking about private sector, when you're talking about public sector, right? We need to identify the various stakeholders like I mentioned, right? So the consultations need to go on a grassroots level. right? They need to go on a grassroots level so that, as the Honorable Minister rightfully indicated, laws are not made only for one particular region or one particular segment of the sector. So why I brought up all these things from a mining perspective in Kunene is to highlight, right, that in as much as we are talking about mining, this is how Kunene should be construed and perceived in terms of opportunities and possible hurdles or barriers. The same can be done for other parts of the country, and then that is now how you conclusively come and say, okay, this is the consultation. So from us, as a private sector, we have been engaging with mines. We have been indicating to them that there needs to be a reform in terms of the contribution of mining claims as a mineral right to the extraction process. We have been trying to put forward the narrative that we should move away from the term small-scale miners to the term emerging miners, right? And we have put emphasis on the fact that we need sort of I can't call it, lack of a better word, philosophical reform in terms of how we engage, how we engage small-scale miners who are currently partaking, and how we can allow them and how we can not only train them in terms of not running a business per se, but in terms of identifying to them the various stages of mining, which will allow them to build certain businesses, but also how to take away the sort of hand-to-mouth culture which is currently there. And you can't blame them, right? So, beyond private sector, one would want the discussions to go beyond that and to a grassroots level perspective. And that is how we can properly capture the whole sector in terms of reform.
Yes. All right. Moving over to you, Mr. John. As we mentioned, as you rightly mentioned in your opening statement, Kunene is a hub for tourism, for conservation, and all these things. You, of course, also being from this region, what are some of the challenges that you encounter in terms of coming up with tourism initiatives, conservation initiatives? What sort of backlash do you receive from the community? So those challenges, and how do you mitigate most of these challenges that you receive from the community?
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Binge. I think, as you may be aware, there are close to 40 plus conservancies in the whole of Kunene. We are now talking about Kunene, not the whole country. So I know that the policy environment, you need to cater for the whole country, but I think that specific discussions is focused to Kunene. So, and the Act is very clear that whoever so wish to establish a conservancy is a voluntary institutions where members must agree what is it that they are going to do in a conservancy, how they are going to do it, where are the memberships, where are the boundaries of the specific conservancies. Constitution, what does it dictate, who's serving on the management committees, and how is the whole community are involved in the decision-making processes of conservancies. And also, as a sector, partners, NGOs, and obviously with our mother ministry, Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, we have done a lot, because this program has come into being since 1996. This is when the first amendment was made. And there was a lengthy process to sensitize communities on what this really means. It's not creating a park, it's not forcing wildlife management onto community, it's basically creating alternative livelihood activities for those that so wish to benefit from wildlife and tourism. And this is the direction. And I think with all the established conservancies, I would say is is very easy because even Communal Land Reform Act give recognitions to conservancy through the Ministry of Lands. In an area that has a conservancy board member, when they are issuing leaseholds, they need to give a due regard to those conservancy management plans and so on, so instance. So, but you know, communities, where would you find a situation where you have a group of people but there are no quarreling? There will be always issues. But I'm sure that with conservancy planning, the zonations and all those strategic arrangements they have in place, it's always easier for them to plan and actually project what type of future development, tourism activity are they aiming to develop in, and at what specific area and where. But the only bottleneck is that to get these things, they may have this idea, but to basically finance these projects, for you to set up a sound tourism lodge, you need capital. And most conservancies don't have the starting capital to start a lodge. You need to invest in a proper, either mid-market to high-end lodge, because you really want to work on those high-end clientele that pay a lot and with less impact on the ground. So that has been an issue in conservancies. And a program that was so well designed that is rurally community-owned, is run and managed by communities, but that is the only setback to invest in your own projects that will see job creation, that will also foresee rural development in the sense that I think we all know in Kunene, and my councillor here was well aware that before COVID, most conservancies that had lodges, they were supporting with rural developments, supporting schools, providing boreholes to the communities, and also some of them are paying for vaccination, veterinary vaccination, medicine for the livestock, being bursary to schools, and also even governments, when they are having events, independent celebrations, they would rely on conservancy, isn't it, Councillor? They would rely on conservancy to either donate meat or provide any assistance in whatever form they may so have. So that was a very a good state of affair before COVID. But now that COVID came and basically crashed all these opportunities, we in community conservation, we have that burden of reigniting these businesses, to bring them back to life again. Where do we get the capital? The only thing we rely on investors. Binga, if you have money, I would say in Odondundu or Matendeka Conservancy, there is a site, come and see whether you are interested. But then you come with your terms. Okay, I'm interested, I'm putting 30 million, but I only give you 8% of the revenue. You see? That is what's actually setting the conservancy back. The 8%, the guy is pocketing maybe $60 million a year, but he's only giving you 300,000 a month. So, and we've been requesting, we've been continuously requesting our government, and it's also good that our minister is here, and I'm sure our Minister of Environment is listening as well. We really need capital injections for community conservation programs to basically, these are rural development opportunities that cater for those people that cannot go to universities. They are employed, they are trained, and they can make their own livelihood and send their kids to better education. So that capital injection is needed. And also what we also need is that most of our colleagues in conservancy, as the minister said, they want to engage in many activities that they were never engaged in previously. You will see most of the people here don't even have a tour operating company. Why? There's no opportunities. Because for you to set up a tour company, it's a lot of things. You need money, you need this, you need this. So my request is really for our government, especially our Ministry of Environment and Tourism, to take a very deliberate and targeted actions to say that in every region in this country, in 14 regions, every year we take 10 students from each region. We give them funding to do tourism businesses. This is how it would be. Then you will see, from all 14 regions, you will have a very highly skilled people that are running tours in those regions. Because in every region, you will see influx of tourists that are coming there. Who are the guides? People from outside. And we also provide facilities that are also not up to standards. Some tourists that come in our area, they don't want to sleep at our facility because they doesn't meet certain standards. And what we have is what we can afford. But if government, I don't know how, if we can be provided with resources to basically upscale our infrastructures level to a level that is more acceptable, and that a foreigner that is coming from Switzerland, a wealthy guy, will be able to see, this is nice, I can sleep here for 2 nights and continue my trip further. So those are the issues that we normally experience in conservancies. I know that there are disputes here and there with traditional authorities, but there are traditional authority disputes that in most cases, they don't really hamper the operation. You will have isolated conservancies with those issues that would basically halt the operation of the conservancy. But in all fairness, most of the conservancy basically will hop on with their lives and continue to look for funding for them to basically venture in various activities. Thank you.
All right. We recognize the virtual participants. Please, we have not forgotten you. From wherever you are watching, we will give you a chance now. I would like to pose this question to the Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, you being in charge of a ministry that deals with international relations and cooperation, which would obviously mean the people coming from abroad and all these things, what are some of the things that you have in place, some of the measures you have in place to support private partnerships, community tourism, and all these things that we have? Mr. Minister.
Thank you very much. Our diplomatic missions are engaged in marketing Namibia as a tourist destination. Not only that, there are a number of platforms that are held. I recall when I was Minister of ICT, I was in Beijing last year around June. There was an event where the Namibia Tourism Board had participated, an event to showcase tourism in Namibia. Now, one would expect that all tour operators, all people involved in tourism activities would be registered with the Namibia Tourism Board. Then when there are such missions, they would be invited and be included to go and present their strengths and opportunities in the tourism sector in those countries. This was an event that was organized in conjunction with our mission in Beijing. There are a lot of business forums that our missions organizes. This year there was an event organized by our mission in Ghana. It was in Window. And when we have business people coming, it is not only business people from other sectors. We expect also those from the tourism sector to participate. The problem is that now these invitations go to institutions like the NCCI and so forth. And a lot of our small businesses do not want to register with institutions like the Chamber of Commerce. Now, to be fair enough, government can only deal with institutions, not with individual businesses. If you are a member of the Chamber of Commerce, invitations come through there, you are able to participate. But now, because some of us would like to have things on our own, we do not want to mingle with others, it becomes difficult for government to go and reach out, for diplomatic missions to go and reach out to single businesses one by one. But we work through umbrella organizations and institutions for business people. So to answer your question then, with those two examples that I give, there are already platforms that exist. And not only Ghana, also in the US, there was another business event arranged in conjunction with our ambassador in the US. That one was in the recent months. So all these are events where Namibians can go and showcase their opportunities, their business opportunities in the tourism sector. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Minister. Mr. Kambode, I have this question for you. Mining activities, including exploration, has been increasing over the last 5 years or so, especially since COVID. What does that mean in context of the economic growth of Kunene and Namibia in general, seeing that Kunene is a region which is a hotspot for exploration and mining, as you mentioned earlier?
Thank you for the question. So one would see that after COVID, there's been a worldwide transition spearheaded towards the green economy. And what that has brought upon is the opportunity for various minerals to be focused on. And these are usually called critical minerals, right? Now, as I indicated earlier, the opportunities of companies coming here, exploring, seeking those, minerals would depend on the type of model that those foreign companies have, right? So some of them will come in with long-term plans in terms of exploration and building, and other ones will come in terms of short-term plans of extraction and production. So the influx of various companies coming here seeking those particular minerals, when they come on the ground, that is when they realize that it's not easy to get hold of those minerals, right? So most of them are coming here expecting there to already be existing mines. Most of them are coming here expecting there to be stockpiles of lithium, stockpiles of copper, stockpiles of nickel. But unfortunately, Namibia is relatively underexplored. However, although there is that geological constraint of the availability of the physical mineral, right, we still have the opportunity of allowing further companies to come in and conduct further exploration, but at the same time as well, looking at particularly those minerals that can already be extracted now. The reason I mentioned copper earlier, and the reason I was mentioning mining claims, is for that specific reason. A lot of companies have been coming here looking for copper, but then they've come to realize that the only way to source them is from mining claims, and they've realized that the only hotspot, particularly for copper, in the whole of Namibia is mostly Kunene region, right? So those are, quid pro quo, the opportunities that it affords, but there are those challenges as well, right? But going forward, I think I think, like I indicated, this is only to highlight that, yes, Namibia is known out there as having such potential, right? But it's only to synergize what is theoretically there and what is practically on the ground. And most of the opportunities, people come here, investors come here with opportunities, seeking opportunities, because in their mind they are comparing it to Zambia or to DRC. But on the ground, you know, we are not that advanced from a exploration or production base, right? So I feel that with Kunene region particularly, it really affords, you know, that opportunity to be able to tap into various those minerals or critical minerals that are being sought. And another thing as well I just want to point out here is that when there was a recent banning on the export of critical mineral, unprocessed critical minerals, and that was after the lithium boom, right? We need to understand that at that particular instance, the definition of what critical minerals were did not include nickel and copper. Those were strategic minerals. So they are not included within that definition. So what happened is, although there was a limitation or a restriction on the exporting of critical minerals falling within that ambit, there was still an export of copper outside of the country, which is unprocessed, because it did not fall within that particular. So these are things to highlight, to say the opportunities are here. The minerals are being, you know, mined, and they are being taken out of the ground, exported out of the country. But it's being done in a manner which on the books might not be recorded for the benefit of everyone, not only in terms of the communities where it's being extracted, but also from a revenue generation perspective of government. So I think that in a nutshell would be.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kambode. Allow me at this moment to open the floor to the general public, to our viewers online, but we'll first start with the participants that are here. The floor is open. For the first time in these proceedings, I'm giving you a chance to challenge the panelists. So the floor is open. If you have a question, you just raise your hand, and the mic either comes to you, or we would prefer if you would come in front to ask your question. There's a mic behind. Anyone? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Moro, Kunene kuhepa. Enaranjo ami Leon Kasupi, Muhamisori Havero Conservancy Amburo, known as Puros Conservancy. And be known out Tatuli. Okatenga me puro hungano, or Chinema hungano mining. Or mining or Chinojitenga, Ino Ukamuno Mundu, where mehi, Muari Meya. Wari anjo mundu me anjo kunde ya chitangri ya hakaina no vandu kamuno mundu autoku yanga mahari ane watu mo pakana nei. So ojina yaro jijabali chicha ojina yaji kongorereko modo conservancy nda mumu no do mining mumu mining anei chiwa kamburo conservancy china ombuyo ka o twani ombuyo kangwindi muno mining njaka ndu mbulo mirongo vivali ponyi mai ko mbulo murongo nei okutako no kuithako chiwatara mwanamo kamuna chitao oskolenja kaina hostel kamuna china yijirimo mengireke hiyo kutunwa mujimbeje kuja mari yanyo mumbiri yangera amimbadire mbere mutoli cha 3 baire no njira njekenda ukapitira potani o kukapito kienda ngachi meiko mbepera chiwa karonda kukala mutu opondera chiwa karonda pombanda mpaka vadero mikoka vyo traka madere anga mwari yanjo mwato novi odhombo ho miriwi mu minene vyadi kwa mehine kimepula kwa vandu ba nova hauto vandu enda radere anga mwi obandu kavena kuchwa wala mu nova hauto madere anga mwari yanjuli so muno kambani mwako otoko mingo pamako vikwa njari aire anga mwari yandu ojina mehe kapati na jo consultation acha kuimbo hatu ya mumbina mpaka isa kuimbo anu bali kwa yanyi okanaka roke chatatu o kambani muno mundu uli ko Philippine ko mahinga waro ngena o munungo une hinda kambura mwana mimbi yamu so o murume nungurwe mawa muno mawe pongo tu maria yao yonganda yao chisanekero o munungo mawenga gena kusesura o jema pelo mutengwa kambonde pazulo kuhingira chawu ja muno mawenga wa muno mawo mawang mangwa tinga hino mawe mahe pogu jama kaningire ko usembako horomende o mawenga mararo ku mundungu no o license yokupa ho mawenga o munungo uli kwa America oguyo vechina chimo chiti hakana no mundu wa America ngo o munungo mekupa usembako kuyo utu kusesura mawenga urandi kucha morandi sa kucha kana kurandi munungu ino kumbe kupa usembako javi o mawengeri pongo tenjo yengo o mawengo kawe o wanyika kale nao oruno veta yo Ministry of Mines and Energy chimaitana ura chimuno mini oveta yo ministry nje yokuti no ndendera chiatana ura kuja yanje usembako vadurundu po yanje usembako vandu behupira mwari yanje orun maitana ura run behengo maningira ministry anda kumai tia mbona ndumba vetu paithiriro po chipeno vandu ngahino mbakura mene po ministry nje yo Mines and Energy njo anda kumave chitu viri panambo javi ngahino veno uli pulamba sana piko chinecha sana mera uja katito chinechi hambi chiwali angwari ya muno vongava mwari ya mutu ajavi wali ya watu kwatitire mavongava wali ya muhama mutupu ko roli ndio hama dise tromawe ovangava kadena luwele pule siviri ovangava ichimwe jovina chichina no wali ya mihindi ya meka mbura kwa kuja mutu ingoma ningira no kumai kwa hona vedumbo do minister o council anda hamamba kwa kujarika ne onambo ude uno nene mutene makonja nao pondondo yenu etinairo hamatu wango kumwethira kwa kujarika ne bahona bona bezingundi yakati asara uli katuna kupa tulimomba menuli okay
okay I think to try to bring what he said to the official language. He's raising he actually didn't ask that much of a question. He is raising an issue as it pertains to mining. He's saying he has observed that sometimes you just see people driving into a village with their cars, setting boundaries, and starting to do their thing without consultation with the community. So he's trying to find out when will the Ministry of Mines and Energy review their laws and acts as it pertains to some of these things, because sometimes the community is not aware. They just see people coming and making boundaries and starting to do their things, drilling, all these things without any consultation with the community. I will give the chance to any of the panelists who wishes to answer on that. Mr. Kambonde.
Thank you very much. Yes, and I think that goes back to what I was stating earlier in terms of, first and foremost, sort of having the mandate of Ministry of Mines and Energy as from a licensing perspective, only to that of being able to first say that we are willing to consider, but we are attaching these conditions, right? So the environmental condition, and secondly now that condition to be able to get, it's actually called a recommendation, but it has been misconstrued to mean consent. So what that means is that if the area you're applying in falls within a conservancy area, so in terms of, I think, Section 30 to the regulations of the Communal Land Reform Act, it requires you to go on the ground and then notify the traditional authority or the chief. Now, this is where it becomes tricky. So like I mentioned, Kunene is so vast with various villages and various traditional authorities and various, so it's not easy for one to pinpoint which authorities, which traditional authorities or which chiefs actually have the jurisdiction. So that is why we sort of implore for there to be a more concerted effort, at least perhaps through the Office of the Governor as well, so that there's a database, right, of all the traditional authorities, those that are gazetted, and all those headmen and so forth, communities falling, within those. Now, the second part is that most of the companies coming in, they will get the consent, but it might not have been done through a proper stakeholder identification and stakeholder engagement process. So perhaps you've gotten it from one chief here, and then you take it to Ministry of Mines. Ministry of Mines is looking at it and saying, okay, it complies with the requirements, and then perhaps the EPL is issued. So when that particular company comes on the ground, they start, and then the community will be like, but where are these people coming from, right? So what needs to be acknowledged there is that other than a consent letter, there is no accountability measure put on companies to adhere to those promises or conditions which they might be negotiating with communities, right? So we sort of need some sort of contract to be incorporated within the application process to ensure that you have consulted, number one, but number two, that you've done an extensive stakeholder identification and stakeholder engagement. Because that also allows communities to be informed that when you are exploring, it doesn't mean you are mining, right? So you can't be expected to build a clinic within 1 year because nothing is coming out you are trying to find. But at the same time, I think there should also be a notion of moving away from corporate social responsibility, which is sort of boardroom-based. It's basically shareholders saying that, look, for us to be able to, do our corporate social responsibility, let's provide the printer. But sometimes a printer might be provided in an area where there's no electricity. And sometimes the public relations campaign is more expensive than what is being sponsored, But we need to move away from corporate social responsibility, perhaps to trying to think of a concept of community development plans, right? So before, part and parcel of the condition of saying we need to show that you've engaged with the community, you need to come and say we've entered into a community development plan, having done an intensive stakeholder identification and stakeholder engagement process, involving all the stakeholders, so the chiefs, the communities, the farmers, and everyone. And then the parties can come up with short, medium, and long-term goals, which are easily attainable based on, the phases of either exploration or production. And let's assume that it's for exploration perspective, and after the 3-year expiration date, or close to the 3-year expiration date of the EPL, when that company needs to renew, then the renewal should be based on what they've achieved from that community development plan, and those terms need to be renegotiated, because most of the time, one company has applied for an EPL maybe a few years ago, and when they are renewing with the same consent letter, but they've not actually adhered to the conditions which was stated in the previous letter. So I 100% understand, the audience question, where it's coming from, because these are the issues that are prevalent within Kunene region. And that is why there is a need of, when you are talking about mining, when you look at that mining value chain, you need to incorporate everyone, including those on a grassroots level. It's the only way that you will come to a point where everything streamlines properly. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, no, I just want to add one thing. I think it's a pity the Ministry of Mines and Energy are not here, because this is a very critical questions, and I think this is a very important session. Ministry of International Relations, can you organize more of this? And I'm sure it will go to a different region, but we really want the Ministry of Mines and Energy here, because mining is a very destructive industry, extractive industries known to be making millions, but where mining is happening, people are living in shacks. People don't have even basic water to drink. Go to Otwani. Otwani people are struggling to get water. Water. People are struggling to get water to drink. People are struggling even to have water so that they can have a small backyard gardens. But there is a big mining there that have taken over the whole space where community should have settled and where they should have grazed their small lambs. It's taken by the mines. You would also not want to live with your livestock next to a mining sites. It's dangerous for your livestock. But these benefits, to be honest, this benefit from mining in communal land, it doesn't go to the communities. It does not. I know I'm conservationist, I don't want mining in certain area, but where it is like Otwani. Why is Otwani people struggling? Even the school, they cannot even support the school. Huh? Those basic things. But that is where what Uncle Leon was saying. Ministry of Mines, they must backtrack the current law and come back to what other ministries are doing. Ministry of Environment and Tourism, Ministry of Lands, there are laws that are operational on the ground. If you want land, mining is land, isn't it? If you want land, there are procedures how you to access land. But I don't know was land for mining is accessed through different systems. How? Yes, I'm hearing that lands, anything below the surface belong to the Ministry of Lands. But for you to go to the core, to the ore, you are passing through my surface. If I was the chief, I would say that. Just for the mere fact that you are actually interfering with my surface, this is where you really need to pay dues, Stanley. So this is where you really need to pay it. Otherwise, find a way to go to your core without interrupting or confusing what is on the surface. That belongs to me. So I think that if that can happen, you go to Rosing, Erongo, those people that are owning mining, they are rich. You come to communal land all over the country where they are mining, Chumep or wherever, this need to change. And I think also as conservationists, you are the right guy, but you are also like us. Mining is deliberately been targeting core wildlife habitats. Rhino, elephant, these are assets of the country. These are assets of the country. We are not saying that they should not be mining in conservation area, but we should also learn by example where mining has taken places, what changes has it make? Is it coming to a core wildlife area just to create the same havoc as they have created in non-core wildlife area like Otwani? So, and I think that is new. And I would also think that our Honorable Pair is here. Why can't the Ministry of Mines become part of the Ministry of Environment and Tourism so that everything is done in one house? Because these are all about natural resources. Why can't it be housed under one ministry that is there to protect, and we use the same procedure of land allocations on communal lands? What is the difference? So that was my input, my brother.
Thank you, Mr. John. I would allow one more hand from the audience. I don't know how we can go about this because we have a time constraint. The discussions are very nice, but we also have a time constraint here. Yes, sir, I recognize you.
Ya, amami pa mwenye kudaka kosezi ambio kangwindi kosezi. Ya oka o wako goja ndo mining garume kadepo o umbambutu nao. Tara modali ando muno domine muno doko sezi ndakurwa. Vandu mbajima veya ko birata ombadu muno doko sezi ndakurwa modali ando muka domenye o minje menalo kutiro inambi pa munwambio la kokule mwali ya la mudenda ko ali arwe ko kuheno mini uko joma wewe mwengutu nao andumbo jimbo mbo weipiera jimayo ko jumise we amopu abe akobira taimbiri mopu obyo kabe ali andonu okuwe kamburo lombapira abe ko ali ando kuba kumabe muno loipiera ujo andumbo bendero kuyekungura uliri loipiera ondanzo akambura mo jirata jatomo nojo chikako ko soromenando ko nango jangela so abenji uliri ujo andumbo bendo mwanombo abe ka tukungura modhalia ujo mumuka binga sana mbo lombapira ndini makambura ayo mbapira de twapewa semba ko soromen o mundu mwingo akambura ipiera ngona itwatezere uliri ngandatie kumuna kuja mbapira njiwa papo pojirata jatomo o soromana ndedu daswango mbapira obe kambura mubomba ayepo zo ipiera chingwa muke yango andaji moto nongo dekuye nguno minding on diti keno kongo keno kudira ukujo uli umudu na ombo atinokujo mbatero nji wanu monda ko mbo odombero to hakaena na aja bihunga mako koloko semensi abe utuku kungira kweno loko zezi kujene matukambura ipiera mo mwali ayo ko zezi onduro ko zezi da kulo ko chibetano tufuko yako ndondo nyandaji matukaningira okuneno ko yepo.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think what he's alluding to is almost the same as what the chairperson of Puros Conservancy has just also indicated. He's mentioning that sometimes the miners are only ending up in Opuo with the traditional authorities that are here. They get papers that allow them to go and explore, and they leave out the other traditional authorities of the people that are in the areas that will be affected. Because the dynamics of traditional authorities is a bit complicated here. There are some major traditional houses. Some of these chiefs are falling under those traditional houses. So what the person from Windhoek does is, I'll go to the Vitatom Royal House, I get a paper from their office in Opuo, and then I go to Ojianja Themo and start doing my mining. There is a headman there who is not consulted, but because maybe the traditional house is already informed in Opuo, they expect that the headman is also informed. So it's a bit those dynamics. What he's suggesting is, I think maybe we can add this in the notes, that the Ministry of Mines must do more groundwork in the communities, just to ensure that this miscommunication is removed. Okay, I recognize the elder there behind.
Akunene kuepa o amami kusta chundu kamba o muhamithe wehikaro do konsensi murukonwa kunene ndo 40 o muhamithe wo bihavero wo konsensi ya matendeka na mana mi kaudhi ukumbi nako chuo no kunguro konsensi o minister kuti no bali angicha kara no hanehire jiro zona o mamukwatiro ipuka mamukaro maebero na muma mulithirwa na mbano domine chingale dungodenda mehindo indo na mbano ndo makwatiro ipuka no maebero okuja ongea machia taura mutu mudhua kuja itorwa yarura mehindo o mehindo mumuno dongaba omumuna kangamwa bihe omumuyeberwa onyamanjia kochiwana ida mwali anjo omumuyeberwa anjo okuya kochiwana na mano domine chida dono kuhitamo tarodo mahina no do hauto no bandumbo okucho bandumbo ochibe chita kucho ipukambyo imbyo mbiri mo ukotomo vitaule na mano okuyako biwana biyo kuchitodo nyone onaye menaja mona muno do hauto rururururu no bina bipamuka mona mo payarara ya okuchubipuka be chibitaura abiye kuchito nyone chino dongea manaye odongaba no honderi mu ukotomo menaro mungu ndambo ngaba kwatirwe ade taura no kuyenda kwarwe panapo de hakara okanake me kumbi no de unako no domine deso bitoto bikoto obitoto mbyo kabithirwa obeching odongem gatachi ya mo patroli ne madena muno uhorongona muno donduno na datiramo muno dongoro na datiramu ukotomo mo bitoto mbyo okuja anda kudu chiri panambe terimude umputu no constituency menara kuja onyoni onjiji todo odomine onjiro ndio ochipuka cha dupona pupe no meba motuharwi kwa na kuno tuharwi kukuno meba puyenwa na mana ikari yokuyo kusekera taro dohorongo okutauro kudango no donduno na iye no bina bihe no dongoro menaro bina mbeuli okuja na mano acha tubanga kuja chiri chinanga romaininga maithe mbruka koja peno minister nje kuti no waliange njanjo odo prohara mando kuja kanu rubede ndu muhano mahi mo matulio na iye ya ongumu anja kuipuka acha wekara no acha we haka na de mbali mena kuja tukamona kuja o mininga mapea aikade pando rukondwa ruhe aikade po minister nje kuti no waliange no o prohama ayo kuja mundo pombo uli tunuudeu ochiche baro omundo kuyano no roli no biterekera uya no bandu chiwano ka unepo konsensindo mbatho kuchwa mbatho kumana mo uwa chimape ungurwambo nambano opono peno ude uli bo peno ude u mo minister njo domina peno ude uli nga petunwe no nga yeto binabi mekulithiro no mo biwana kahimwa no bandu gunda mundakutwana ukadhuwa mundu kako yako thoromana poko na chiwana mulume ndungwenjira wanungwara mbando mulongo achiti wakati wandu balwe no mbehiwe pothia abantu batho kuhupa mu rubedendo ombo mberi mu rukondwando akune kuhepa.
Okay, thank you. Because of the time constraint, let me allow Meme Agnes to give us because the other one was a complaint.
Yeah, okuhepa. Mami kahimbo nang othoroma na angango gumbada nguguma kuhungira ko kuguno mininga omino nene jaga okaogola mininga jaga mo mburo 20 tuno school etu irimbo musaso combined school kaina gina chiyanjako tuno konsebe tombyo kangwindi odomburo 20 chiwa imbo mwakapura kujawa kwetu chimuhena kina chimwenja kujiwana oiji atwende ko Ministerial nene nji mukapure kujama mbaisa mama wengapi mawa mochivike mupito do taraka hambo umwe deda kotwani odo taraka deno do taraka ihe muno donja to 20 ojimo bro yando donja tundo da edo do taraka ndace thuro njira njika tuna njira jito ongura no ruhere food for weka ya thuro do taraka doe okana kumeningire mbauli maturango Ministerial nene nji maturango Ministerial environment alikana tuonganize okina chimuna hi obandu bayemba tunoude ono ipiela yobana bimaliba byo sereka do gucho kudo inge gucha kudo chikwe chiwa wekuada mba usethuro chitoto chia uno kawa ke katiti mara mbapira enje ya expire pokatiko kuhinda ko chomwithemba muno macho mukadona nguhungirera karo chambo guno ipiela yatwani ke kupika rura ko ke kanjire kuja usethuro mawewe obenga mo isamo video mehi ufuto macho wo school omine njiri mwakaina kina chiyanja oipiela naitwa liro kuli heka twapa tuno chipo thajima chihungiro mudando nango todako rukondwa rumwe tuye tukatede kucho ipiela njo mundo mbapira wa ithapi ete tunothoroma na etu jino kuti no bandu bayo otateka mbonde mbama bechiwa maro mbapira dekambulwa mopuo obirata yombe mbinanenwa mopuo kunda onda atuno tukon opuo njinjino o town council omumwe kuna neno birata ambado ombia njo mbapira ko bakodoko kodo ipiela dino nditwaliro okuli heka ngumbado apulukondwa letu akwetu tuorganize o Ministerial nene nji charwe makuso kuyenda ngalire kuja ko bimbanda po kupi ngaino tukadhuwire po jamatu ipiuli twamuno uzeu omawetu katuse twekuka mbroka jo bimaliba ochive ya rumwa betoro bana chemboda nduma beungulitha abetora behiremo abeanjako bimaliba obandumbo beka odo stamba do zoromana pobe apuno birumbu omundu nguma kwekamburo mbapira kotsoromana osoromana iso kukapuno banane bayo kaso kuka obandu bawanganese 1 2 3 osoromana makuyanjo mbapira tunoude o ministry yomaenene o minister yomaenene nenji no environment ngadeyemba otwanyi tunodho omaeninga tunodho njou de tuhavera chuavete mwimo momadhumu mwikondo katkonopo na puonjera korandisa kayo yoyo horomende ngalika na ulirinda le uchitwadhu mu election anaitu o ministry yomaenene nenji ngaiye pondo ngamomba tie kuhungira kuno mundu nguri na ikatuna matuhungire ulili okuhepa.
Thank you. The last one, the last question that I'll give in a matter of seconds.
Moro chuana mwatengwa po nyanumbuenu inakene no kukurama ya pongeu hirire ndino mhuko munene amihine puri rombine ningira medango kuja mecho kuja ministry ndio manze nene jika ipomba ochimeango kuja nemba mbumwe ya chimamu yaruka po minister mukeira ere kuja ochiwana chapuo po unene wacho chachavi oviungura mbiutho kuungura mombero yo manze nene ji ovingi vya poviri kopo au yarika nanda kuapa homwano umwe wokuja ukare nombero mopuo mena kuchetena ono hotumuno udheu ingo kumuna njo claim ini omundu jene no kukumuna omundu wechiwana claim anje no kumuna uthemba wayo chaiko chomwise chaka apply eto chomwise katuchi tukahanga ukira ko chomwise chimatuka apply ko claim okuchandaku andaku mave tana ukana benda betana ko kuya kopuo mena kucho byungura bya vingi biri kopu chima turu chanyamatie kulira pombero chima beitha no mbongarero yo chiwana enjima beitha no mbongarero chiwana o waveri mopu ngale mopu a muthu ekulira banga kuchana uri.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll allow you, sir. Brief, please.
Yes, good afternoon to our panelists. I just have a small question to Mr. Kambode. I don't know whether I heard you correctly, but when you were explaining the EPL and the mining claim rights, I just wanted to know whether someone can apply for EPL before, for a mining right claim before an EPL, or is the other one a prerequisite to the other one? And also, just for my note, you have mentioned that there is only one mineral resources that is only found in Kunene. I did not get you on that one. If you can just repeat the name, please. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Perhaps to start with the last question, that mineral is called blue sodalite. So in Namibia, it's only found in Orutumba, and in the world, I think it's only 6 jurisdictions. Blue sodalite. All right. So to answer your first question, there is no prerequisite in terms of which can be applied before the other. But if you apply for an EPL, and there was already a mining claim application, that particular area is not included in the EPL of the mining claim application, right? So if the mining application is this table, and you apply for an EPL the size of this conference hall, this particular table will not form part of the EPL size. It will be excluded because it was before the application, right? However, there is now an issue relating to applying mining claims on an area which is already granted as an EPL or an area which has an EPL application, right? So currently, right now, there was a directive, I think, yeah, it was a memorandum that was issued, it should have been in October, by Ministry of Mines and Energy, which was prohibiting mining claim holders from applying on areas where there is an existing EPL or an area where there are EPL applications without the consent of the holder or of the applicant, right? Now, there was certain reservations which we had to that, right? I think I could understand it more clearly perhaps if the limitation is solely on the EPL applicant, on the EPL holder, because the license is already granted, right? You already have the mineral right. So obviously if you're going to apply for a mining claim there, you need permission for him to say, okay, you can, I give you permission to apply for the mining claim and you can mine this and this and this, right? But I sort of have a slight issue with with permission required from an EPL applicant, right? Because first and foremost, the EPL is not granted yet, right? Secondly, there is no restriction on multiple EPL applications on top of each other, right? So if you come in the office and you want to apply for a mining claim on an area where there are 3 EPL applications on top of each other, they say that you are required to get consent from all 3 applicants. And then when you maybe go looking for that consent and maybe you come back the next day and there are 5 more. So it means that you know, so these are the various, sort of overlapping issues that we are putting out there. We are not saying, we are not bombarding per se. All we are saying is the mining sector has outgrown the Act. And in the reformulation of the Act, there needs to be extensive stakeholder consultations to be able to raise the issues which are on the ground, which may not be prevalent, sitting maybe in an office. So you need to be here to really hear what are the key issues on the ground, of people on the ground. It's not a thing that you can do from a theoretical perspective. Yeah, so I think I've answered your question. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. We have a few questions. We have a question here from the social media platforms. I don't know which of the panelists will be able to answer this one. What is the long-term vision for economic growth in the Kunene region, and how do tourism and mining fit into this vision? I don't know who can take on that one. Any of the panelists? To repeat the question again, what is the long-term vision for economic growth in the Kunene region, and how do tourism and mining fit into this vision?
If I were to look at it from a mining perspective, in terms of a mining vision, it would be to get to a point where we are adding value to our minerals. But before we get there, we need to ensure that all the policy frameworks are in place so that there are no constraints in terms of the extraction and there are no constraints in terms of the benefits trickling down to the communities within which these activities will happen, which means that that is then how you put along that value chain so that the product can move along that value chain. Now, I see Kunene region being one of the, if not the key player in terms of copper ore supply and production in Namibia, if we manage to get all these constraints right, because there are various opportunities which are opening up. The smelter in Tsumeb, they are keen on sourcing material from Kunene, but the operations here are not up to standard the operations are not so that they can, meet the standards of what is there in terms of the grade, in terms of the type of material that goes there and whatnot. So if we can get sort of if we can do an overhaul, right, on how we approach the mining sector, we'll be able to, sort out the nitty-gritties at the beginning, right, before we can get there, because all the concerns and all the issues which were raised here, these are the key concerns which number one needs to be addressed before you can actually move that product along the line. So even if you put a smelter, even here, or wherever, you will not be able to feed that smelter. So we need to sort of do an overhaul and understand that entire value chain. So I think, just to answer the question, the long-term vision would be to set up, some sort of beneficiation which allows product to move along that value chain. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Allow me at this point to give you, the panelists, a chance within very, very few seconds just to make closing remarks. I will first give to panelist number one, the Minister. Mr. Minister, I would not want to constrain you with time, but things are looking like that.
Thank you very much. All I would say is that in order to ensure that we reach economic growth in Kunene region, we need to work together, government, the private sector, and the community-based programs that are in the region. So there need to be an annual come together to look at what the program of the region would look like. When I was Minister of Urban and Rural Development, I used to encourage that the regional government, local authorities, and other stakeholders like the traditional leaders, the business sectors, would come together in order to chart the course for the year on how best they can bring development to their region. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister. Mr. John.
Yes, from community-based natural resource management point of view, I think Kunene region can build a robust and diverse economy that will actually bring about changes to the livelihood of the communities. So what we also need to take into account is the ongoing climatic changes. And I think we are now at the crossroad where we really have to diversify our livelihood options, and tourism and other livelihood options are the way to go, not necessarily to do away with our traditional way of living, which is cattle farming and all those things, but we really need to adopt a notion of diversifying other means of livelihoods to be able to sustain the adverse climatic changes that we are facing on a daily basis.
Thank you, Mr. John. Mr. Stanley.
Thank you. I think in conclusion, a lot have been said, and most of the contribution, which I am thankful for, has come from the audience. But in conclusion, I just feel that we perhaps need a bottom-up approach of first understanding our industry, understanding how the industry, is set up or operates within the Kunene region. And once you understand that, you can then be able to put in the required mechanisms to actually ensure that the true potential of mining is actually unlocked in Kunene. And just perhaps to add on to Mr. John's contribution on tourism, I perhaps would like to give you another concept called mining tourism. Right? So mining tourism would be, it's actually something that we're currently doing with the blue sodalite. So you can have, there are various tourists who wants to come in and want to feel that experience of maybe seeing copper in its raw state, of seeing chrysocolla, blue sodalite. So those are various opportunities to allow people to experience that, to be able to take some souvenirs with, or even have them made into some jewelry. And you can then incorporate that with, the cultural, aspects of tourism. So, that's all I could add on.
Okay. Let me thank you, gentlemen, our panelists for today, for sharing with us your expertise Your contributions are very, very valued. Thank you to the panelists. Thank you, Honorable Minister, Mr. Kambode. Allow me at this particular juncture to invite Ms. Berta Makali, the Director in the Ministry of International Relations and Cooperation, to come and deliver for us the vote of thanks. I'm too young to thank so many distinguished people. I'll give to the Director to do it.
Thank you very much, Director of Proceedings. Honorable Dr. Pea Mushelenga, Minister of International Relations and Cooperation. Honorable Marius Sikunawa Tuoleni Shea, Regional Governor, Kunene Region, in absentia, but represented by the Honorable Johannes Atsino, who is the Regional Councillor for Ocho constituency. Allow me to stand on the existing protocols already acknowledged. As already indicated by the moderator, my name is Berta Makali. I'm the Director of Information and Research responsible for public diplomacy in the Ministry of International Relations and Cooperation, and I'm also the chairperson of the Dr. THEO-BEN GURIRAB Lecture Series Organizing Committee. As the onset, allow me to thank the moderator for the exceptional job in keeping us on time and engaged in these very important deliberations. Thank you all for taking time this morning to participate in the 22nd edition of the Dr. THEO-BEN GURIRAB Lecture Series to interrogate the theme, Unlocking Economic Potential, Harnessing Tourism Attractions and Mining Resources to drive infrastructure development and economic growth in the Kunene region. Ladies and gentlemen, today's lecture series highlighted the significance of mining, conservancy, tourism sectors as key drivers of social economic development in the Kunene region. With its unique geographic, abundant natural resources, fertile lands, and rich tourism opportunities, the region indeed holds a significant promise for economic growth. The discussion further underscored how smart partnerships between government, private sector, and local communities can collaborate to enhance the region's growth, focusing on sustainable development that respects both the environmental and the economy and the communities. We are also reminded to consider the development of targeted marketing campaigns that showcase Kunene as a destination for adventures and ecotourism, to seek out and engage international travel platforms and elevate this great region's visibility. The visibility was emphasized here. As we come to the close of the 22nd Dr. THEO-BEN GURIRAB Lecture Series, it is my distinct honor to express our gratitude to the Honorable Marius Sikunawa Tuoleni Shea, as I said, who is represented by our Regional Councillor, Honorable Johannes Atsino, and his esteemed office, really, for welcoming us in this beautiful region. Our stay in your region has been hospitable, I can say that. And I must say that this is really the first time that I am in Opua. I mean, and I can say that the lecture series actually afford us the opportunity to explore the country, because the lecture series is actually hosted on a regional rotation basis. We think that we can at least see our country. Similarly, I extend my heartfelt thanks to our Honorable Dr. Pea Mushelenga, Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, who is joining us virtually from Harare, Zimbabwe, where he is attending the extraordinary summit of the SADC heads of states and government. Your presence here this morning, Honorable, reflects your commitment not only to our nation, but also to this lecture series and the broader mandate of the Ministry of International Relations Corporation. Honorable Dr. Mfelenga, we appreciate you for taking the time off from your busy schedule to join us this morning. Thank you very much. On behalf of the Ministry of International Relations and Cooperation, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to the panelists for their insightful presentation this morning. Their contribution truly reflects their commitment to the growth and development of the Kunene region. Dear panelists, I should say that you have expanded our understanding of the tremendous economic potential within the Kunene region. Thank you so much. Yes, you can clap hands for them. Furthermore, I wish to extend our deepest thanks to all our participants gathered in this hall, not forgetting our social media audiences who participated in and following this lecture on various virtual platforms, including the Facebook live streaming. Your contributions, all of you here in the hall especially, your contribution to this discussion on this important theme made the lecture seriously tremendous, memorable for us. And we will take the recommendation that you've given us, we take them to the respective ministry. We promise that. And our minister is also listening. And let's carry the lesson learned from this lecture series and implement them in our daily lives and the work in keeping the spirit of the Dr. THEO-BEN GURIRAB legacy alive. Let's really go and implement what was said here. We also extend our wholehearted gratitude to our partner, Namibian Broadcasting Corporation, NBC, for supporting the Dr. THEO-BEN GURIRAB lecture series over the past 20 years. All the 21st session, they have been covering them live. Your commitment to informing and educating the public on contemporary international issues and Namibia's foreign policy has been highly valuable. We deeply appreciate and thank you for your commitment, support. NBC, you are highly appreciated. Thank you for that. Omake. Additionally, let me thank the staff of the Ministry of International Relations and Cooperation under the leadership of our able Ambassador Penda Nanda. He is our Executive Director, and the heads of the departments and directorates, and the Dr. THEO-BEN GURIRAB Lecture Series Committee. The committee is here. You can stand up. Let the people see you. The committee of the THEO-BEN GURIRAB Lecture Series that are here. We thank you for your hard work and teamwork to make this 2020 second edition of the Dr. THEO-BEN GURIRAB Lecture Series a huge resounding success. I want to thank you. Omake. With these few words, I want to extend my thanks to everyone for participating in this lecture. I wish you all the best. Those who are traveling, I wish you a traveling mercy. I thank you. Okwepa. Dangi.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for thanking us. Allow me to... we opened with a prayer. It would only be fair if we also close with a prayer. Allow me to invite, in our culture you cannot call your uncle, but I can see my uncle, Pastor Kalusha here. Pastor, can you please come and close with for us with a prayer? Pastor Kalusha. May we all rise for the prayer?
Shall we pray together? Our God and our Father, we just want to say thank you for giving us an opportunity to come together. Thank you for your mercy. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for your peace. Father, we just want to say, indeed we have heard wonderful information, educative information. And Father, we pray that indeed you touch our minds so that we can really take the insight and that indeed we'll work on it so that indeed we can take this information to the people that really need it on the ground. Father, thank you that indeed you have made it possible. Now we pray that indeed our request will reach the relevant office, especially the office of the Minister of the Mines and Energy, because indeed we see that all our concerns and all our issues actually need to be addressed by that office. And Father, we pray that indeed as we depart from here, help us not to depart from your presence and continue guiding us, continue leading us, and Holy Spirit, continue opening our mind. And I continue also lifting this nation as we are approaching the date for election, oh God, that indeed you continue helping us as a nation to stand together and to do the right thing at the right time. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you so much, Pastor. At this point, the same way I opened these proceedings is the same way I'm closing. Thank you so much for your attendance. The series are officially closed. The only thing that we are going to remain with now while we are standing is to sing the national anthem the same way we sang it in the beginning. Thank you.